Hi everyone, William here with the Grand Duke Dmitri 1917 YouTube series. And today we're doing the 16th through the 19th of November. That's on the old style or Julian calendar. Our recap, well, we had this strange fellow turn up, Korsakov, bringing Dmitri letters that were unopened and intact, but on the other hand, he seemed quite a shady fellow, telling all kinds of unlikely stories about himself. So I won't go back over those. Dmitri expressed some emotion, some real, genuine, deep emotion that he hadn't for a long time. Well, I don't know if it's a long time, but and talked about how things tended to become rather abstract. He was so far removed from the scene, that the things that his loved ones were experiencing. So this was something that that jarred him sort of out of that less emotional mode. And he talked about how much he longed to talk and talk with his loved ones. So much to talk about with the revolution and everything else, undoubtedly, even if they were getting letters constantly between each other, and they weren't. Only once in a blue moon, there would still be so much to talk about. Okay, so let's see, what were the dates of those? I should tell you, the date of that was the 18th of November. So very typically for Dmitri, we're going backwards in time. And we are doing the 18th of November again, because the previous time he did the 18th of November, it was one of these sort of long summarizing diary entries. So he's going to do it again, but on what happened that day. All right, sorry, that was a bit long-winded on my part. Here we go. 16th November, Thursday. I got up very late and read until lunch. Then I went riding solo, after which I dropped by to see Madame Yevrenova. I stayed there for quite a long time. I dined at home. There were no guests. In the evening, I managed to go to the club. Naturally, I started playing baccarat and lost around 1,000 months, but because Staroselsky owed me that much and never paid, I transferred my debt to him. I got home around 6 o'clock a.m. 17th November, Friday. I slept almost until lunchtime. In the afternoon, I played polo. It was a fun game, relatively fast and better organized. I'm already hitting the ball better. Around 6 o'clock, I went to the musicale at the Club Imperial, where I played bridge and chess. I dined at home. Eter and Yevrenov were there. Saturday, 18th November, lunched at Eter's. The deputation from the Caucasus was there. At first, the conversation wouldn't flow, but then things got better. I spoke at length with Colonel Kharitonov and the old paymaster, Lesnyak, who turned out to be an old friend and colleague of the late Nikolai Junkovsky, and naturally knew old Miss June very well. Our conversation went on so long that Yevrenov, laughing, said that they were probably offering me the Caucasian crown. In the afternoon, I dropped by to see Yevrenova. Dined at home. There were no guests. In the evening, as I have already mentioned, I unexpectedly received the letters from home, delivered by the suspicious Lieutenant Korsakov, whom I mentioned earlier, and was terribly overjoyed. Naturally, I went to bed late because I was occupied with my letters. 19th November, Sunday. I didn't do anything much in the morning, but in the afternoon I played polo. After the game, I went to see Madame Yevrenova and stayed there rather late. I dined at home, and after dinner wrote a letter to Baratov and one to Maria, just in case, because on Monday, or more accurately Tuesday, the 21st of November, Staroselsky was due to leave. I asked him to find out if my sister is in Kislovodsk, and if so, to give her the letter. I wrote Baratov care of Rawlinson and accepted his proposal about joining Radex's staff. Okay, so as you can see, letters were given when the opportunity arose to people who were traveling rather than being simply put in the post, even if that would have been feasible. Yeah, because of censorship. Okay, so going back up to the top, who was Ksenia Yevrenova? Well, I don't know a lot about her, aside from being Yevrenov's wife, the bank employee, or the head of the bank. I mean, quite an important person locally. But she has, to a certain extent, been edging out Lady Marling. Lady Marling was kind of getting on Dmitri's nerves, as you recall, and being very sort of clingy and demanding. And, you know, Dmitri isn't talking about going out on the daily rides with Lady Marling, excursions. He's more and more talking about Ksenia Evrenova and being with her. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. Okay. Of course I played Baccarat, he said. And naturally, I like the way he prefaces that, it's a temptation. And of course I succumbed to that temptation. That's going to be a nasty surprise for Staroselsky when he finds out that Dmitri, who lost 1,000 tumans, which is a fortune, it's a lot of money, has transferred that debt to him. I mean, I'm sure it was nicer for Staroselsky to owe the money to Dmitri, who wasn't going to aggressively ask him for it, and now to find out that he owes the money to the club. So that's a different kettle of fish. Interesting that Etter and Yevrenov were guests for dinner at the British legation. Maybe a chance for Sir Charles to talk a little bit to them about this deputation, or maybe just because, they were making an effort to invite Russians that they knew that people that they knew Dmitri liked. So the deputation arrives. We have Paymaster Lesniak. He was mentioned before as one of the 3 members of the deputation, a civilian. Doing this administrative job with General Przhevalsky's army, and then Kharitonov, a colonel. And Dmitri told us before that he'd spent quite a lot of time talking to Kharitonov. Can't remember what about. But anyway, this interesting little joke. Oh, did they offer you the crown of the Caucasus? Yeah, Dmitri doesn't follow up with that, saying anything about, were they, was it a joke, or were they implying that maybe, the Yevrenov who said, oh, you talked to them so long, they must have offered you the crown of the Caucasus. Was it completely a joke, or were people thinking along those lines? And would Dmitri have taken it if it was offered to him? I would say absolutely not. I would say he would not have taken it, because he would have considered it against his oath completely to Nicholas II, who was still, Nicholas II, or whoever would be next in line to the throne, since Nicholas had abdicated. Dmitri would, he would not have done that. I'm certain about that. He may be, the logical thing to do, I think, would be to say, I will form a government, but I will not become the king of the Caucasus. Anyway, it's a moot issue, isn't it? Because, there was no serious discussion of it. And but the thumbnail that I attached shows Dmitri II of the Caucasus. So there were 2 Dimitris not the Caucasus, sorry, Georgia. Dmitri II, who was the king of Georgia, and there was a Dmitri I, who was the king of Georgia. So that's kind of interesting. He would have been Dmitri III. All right. What else? The Junkovskis. Okay, those of you who watched the videos for the 1906 and 1917 diaries when Dmitri was a teenager remember that Miss June was sort of a thorn in the side of both Dmitri and Maria. She was Maria's governess, and both of the kids found her quite annoying and a bit of a high-maintenance person because she would get upset if she wasn't invited to, family dinners and things like that. So the Junkovskis, there were several of them, and one of them, Vladimir, had been Grand Duke Sergei's primary adjutant when he was Governor General of Moscow, or assistant. And so there were other members of the family. So Miss June is not Miss June as a first name, June. It was an abbreviation that the children used instead of Junkovskaya. They called her Miss June. And yeah, Nikolai, I don't know who he was, but yeah, one of those situations where small world, right? So-and-so. Yeah, I know her very well. Okay, anyway, I just wanted to clarify who they were. Yeah, so we now have official confirmation that Dmitri did accept the proposal about joining General Radets' staff. He was the commander of the 1st Caucasian Division, and he had proposed to go to Mesopotamia and fight with the British. And Dmitri was asked to join as an officer translator, thought it over, and now, as I say, we have the official confirmation he did accept, but then Radets ended up not going. So the whole thing kind of fell apart. And it wasn't that Dmitri withdrew from it, it was just that it didn't work out. Okay, what do we have next time? Well, we're going to go through, let's see, the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd, and 23rd are the last of this book. He will finish up this particular book. He would run out of space. Usually you buy a diary, it's supposed to last you all year, but Dimitri's never lasted him more than 3 months. So this won't be his last diary volume for the year, but he's running out of space in this one. So I don't know how many of those we're going to do next time. They start to get very, very interesting. Not that these aren't interesting. Korsakov will again appear and be discussed, and as will the deputation. We'll find out what actually happened on that hunt into the desert for onagers that Dmitri withdrew from at the last minute because he was warned that it might actually be, in reality, a punitive expedition against one of the tribes and people might be killed. So we'll find out what actually happened with that. And yeah, I hope to see you then. Bye.